Pole shift, Brent Miller, the Horizon Group. On a radio interview with Coast to Coast, Brent Miller said that 2/3 of the people will die during the pole shift and 25% of the world's people will die in coastal areas. Now, my opinion, based on reasonable deductions. The government can't afford to tell you the truth because the chaos that would result from millions of people moving from the coast would devastate the economy. This would disrupt companies and banks, all owned by those who own almost everything of value, and those greedy individuals would rather wait until the last minute. And when you see a wave that's 5 miles high coming in, they might say to you, "Hey, you guys better get out of there." When it's too late for you to pack anything, when it's too late to stock up on food for your trip, when the gasoline lines are too long to fill up your gas tank, when a shortage of food causes prices to skyrocket along with gasoline prices and such, when the time it takes to drive 500 miles inland would take 10 hours, and that's only when the freeways are empty, which they won't be in a panic situation, when everyone takes off work and jumps into the car to leave town at once, when the wave is traveling at about 5,000 miles per hour, then the government finally warns you. Remember, the core of the earth does not change. It's the crust on top that slips. The core is lined up with various magnets in the universe, and it never changes, according to Nancy Lieder's report a week ago on February 26, 2012. Let me read it to you. Apparently, the explanation goes back to 1995 and is being repeated in the 2012 newsletter, February 26th. The question is, do the Earth's poles ever suffer a reversal during a pole shift? And the answer, no. The Earth's polarity, where the magnetic North Pole points consistently in one direction, as though focused on a distant point in the universe, does not change ever. This is an illusion, a hypothesis that humans have concocted to explain what they find in the Earth's crust. Between pole shifts, however, there are slight movements of the magnetic North Pole, especially during the time just before and after the pole shift, approximately 100 years on either side. Having only the Earth's crust to examine, and being in denial or unaware of pole shifts, a human could only assume that the poles had moved rather than the crust. Now, my comment. The crust is going to move about 6,000 miles in about 45 minutes. How fast is that? About 9,000 miles per hour? And if it does, it's going to drag the atmosphere with it, but since the atmosphere is not rigidly attached to the crust, there will be some slippage, and that means 300 mile per hour winds, if we're lucky. What will a 300 mile an hour wind do to your cattle? It will sandblast them to dust. What about people? Dust. What about cars and buildings? Have you ever seen what a tornado does to cars, houses, and school buses? Forget about life. Even if you survive, you starve. There's no water, no food, no gasoline. If you had a nice garden, it's dust, and your house is gone. Your entire neighborhood is gone. Your city is gone. The equator has a bulge of water about 6.5 miles high, I think. Look up this article using Google's advanced search second line. Equator bulge. Use that phrase. The fourth link is to the Times Daily. It's a newspaper article, and the headlines read, Equator bulge might be thicker than believed, and it's dated May 28, 1959. In this article, they added 500 feet to the 13 miles of bulge they thought they observed because the Vanguard 1 satellite provided some new facts and they had to adjust their figures. That's why the Earth is flatter at the poles. The sloshing of the oceans during a pole shift sends a tsunami heading for some coast that could be miles high. I don't think 13 miles is the height because the article says the Earth bulges, and that means both sides of the sphere. So maybe 6.5 miles on each side, and the 500 miles was added to the total. So 6.5 miles plus 250 feet on each side, that's how much bigger the Earth is at the equator where there's a bulge. But still, do you want a wave coming in that's 6.5 miles high? Surfers would slip spaghetti sauce if they saw a wave that high. Jets fly at 30,000 feet. Mount Everest is 29,001 feet, and that's 4.49 miles up. Imagine seeing a wave as high as a jetliner. Would you be scared? If you're looking for a warning from government, you might get it when the wave is as high as a jet. But don't count on it, because all those cowards in government will be hiding out like cockroaches when you come back from the store with insecticide. During this interview, Brent Miller from the Horizon Project mentions ocean height at 42 kilometers, and then he says that's 26 miles, and I converted 42 kilometers to miles, and I got 26.09 miles, indeed. I didn't really catch on to what he said, so if you hear the interview, you might want to listen more closely than I did. Later, when referring to this number of 26 miles, or 42 kilometers, Brent Miller says that a wave that large will top any mountain in the world. So going to a place that's 200 feet above sea level and 100 miles from the coast is not a good warning tip, it's a laugh. There is no safe place on Earth during a pole shift, and maybe that's why the Mayans said it's the time to harvest souls. I think people are going to die. And Brent Miller, whose group studied all the sciences in order to put his theory together, and they brought in experts in each field, and the study was assimilating all the pieces of the puzzle, because no discipline in science has all the pieces to the puzzle. And it takes a group to put all the scientific evidence into one puzzle board to see how the puzzle looks. Brent Miller said during this interview that the pole shift has nothing to do with Planet X, Nibiru, Wormwood, or that object known by any other name. It has to do with the passing of the Earth and the solar system through the galactic plane, where there's much magnetic force and a lot of gravity waves, and there's much debris to bombard the Earth. He also mentions the black hole at the center of the galaxy, but since the Pleiadians said we don't have the right understanding of black holes, I didn't pay much attention to that part. We have belief systems, and they're based on what we think we know, and we keep discovering that our beliefs are wrong. So far, 100% of all of our beliefs have been proven wrong if given enough time. That is, everything we ever believed in has proven to be false. We perceive the world through just 5 senses, and taste, touch, and smell can't give us much perception of the stars, and so we're down to just 2, sight and hearing. The stars don't make a lot of noise, so now what's left? We have sight. But we know that we can't see the entire range of the electromagnetic spectrum, so how good is our sense of sight? It's like someone who badly needs glasses trying to drive the car in the dark without headlights. Then there's the problem of collecting data. There are mistakes made there. Interpreting the data. More mistakes are made. Storing the data. More mistakes are made in storing it. And then retrieving it and interpreting the retrieved information. Mistakes made all along the way. We can't rely on anything that we collect, interpret, store, retrieve, interpret, and repeat. Mistakes are made at each step of the way, and what we retrieve is not what went in. So we have a problem there too. If we stored the information at age 10, we store it as a child, and it's interpreted by a child. We retrieve it at age 40, and now we're an adult with many experiences. Time changes our perspective. Memories fade, and our minds alter those memories. So how reliable is our information? That's why all of our beliefs are wrong. So I don't believe in anything. Certainly not our theory of black holes. So I didn't pay much attention when Brent Miller was talking about the effects of the black hole. All that's theory, and it's very weak theory, I think. So here's my point. We should not be too enthusiastic about any theory or belief, because all of them so far have been proven to be false. We do not have a picture of reality. The secret government makes sure that what we know is controlled entirely by them. And too many of us are glad to let the nefarious government do our thinking for us. I advocate that you believe nothing. I advocate that you let no one do your thinking for you. No government, no man of God, no salesman, no wife, nobody. Do your own thinking. Hear everything, dismiss most of it, and keep only what seems reasonable. And don't go to war just yet. Live a little longer so you can confirm what you think might be true. This video is about a pole shift, and I'm bringing you Brent Miller if you don't already know about him and his Horizon Project. If you want to believe in this and make this your new religion, that's great, but if you want to take my advice and just consider it, that's even better. I'm not religious, so don't expect me to ask you to believe anything on faith. I'm not purporting theories here. I'm telling you about Brent Miller and the Horizon Project. He's not the Messiah, and I don't believe in religious dogma. It was all contrived to control you, just like the laws. Everyone wants control of you, and there are those all around you organized to control and organized to commit crimes against you as well. You can call this organized crime, or you can call it conspiracy. To me, they're the same. Thanks for watching.